Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So what is the Charter? The Charter is a set of rights and freedoms that all Canadians are entitled to, which is protected by law. It is a part of the Canadian Constitution. There are both individual and collective rights. Generally speaking, all Canadians are guaranteed those rights and freedoms. So a little bit of background info. The Canadian Constitution sets out the rules that describe how our country works. All laws must follow the guidelines set out by the Constitution. It is the supreme law of Canada. Our Constitution was written in 1867. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms was officially added on April 17, 1982. We say that the Canadian Charter is entrenched in the Constitution, meaning that these rights and freedoms are not easily changed. So as I already mentioned, there are two different types of rights guaranteed by the Charter. We have individual rights and collective rights. Individual rights are guaranteed to each person who lives in Canada. Some rights, such as the right to vote or the right to exit and leave Canada freely, mobility rights, might apply to only actual Canadian citizens. The other rights and freedoms would apply regardless of citizen status. So that just means that people who have immigrated here or are temporary Canadians aren't necessarily guaranteed those rights because they're not full Canadians yet. Collective rights are rights that are guaranteed to a certain group of people in Canada, including Francophones, Anglophones, and First Nations. And what is a right? Something that you are legally entitled to. So we have several different rights that are guaranteed to us under the Charter. The first one is democratic rights. So citizens have the right to vote for elected officials or to run to be an elected official. Governments must hold elections every 5 years at the largest span, unless there is a war or national emergency, and the government must hold session at least one time in a 12-month period. This ensures that democracy is actually taking place. Mobility rights. Citizens can enter, leave, or remain in Canada. Citizens and permanent residents can move to and work in any province, and these rights can be restricted, for example, if someone has a criminal record or isn't a full Canadian citizen. Legal rights. We have the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Citizens have the right to be secure against unreasonable search and seizure. Citizens have the right to not be imprisoned or detained for no reason. If someone's arrested, they have the right to know why they're being arrested, and they're allowed to have a lawyer immediately. And they have the right to know that they're detained for a valid reason and that they are taken into arrest properly. If charged, a person has the right to a timely trial, is innocent until proven guilty, and cannot be denied bail where there's reasonable cause to have it. And no one should be subjected to cruel and unusual treatment. Equality rights. Every citizen has the same rights under the law and cannot be subject to discrimination based on their race, color, ethnic origin, religion, sex, age, or physical, mental disabilities. Official language rights, and this is an example of a collective right. French and English are the official language of Canada and are treated equally in all parliamentary and Government of Canada affairs, so meaning that if you go into any Government of Canada building or meeting, French and English can be spoken, and if you don't speak it, you can get a translator or have access to that. Minority language education rights. So where there's enough students, the government must provide language instruction in either of the official languages, even when it is the minority language of the province or area. So like in St. Paul, French is the minority here. However, we still have a Francophone school because it is guaranteed under the Charter. So as we mentioned, collective rights are rights that are guaranteed to a group of people who share a similar identity. In Canada, the Charter protects the collective rights of the English, the French, and First Nations. First Nations rights. This includes the right to land, to self-determination and self-governance, and the right to practice one's own culture and customs, including language and religion. The web below shows some of the ways collective rights have been guaranteed to the First Nations in Canada, as well as I see that there's a little side sheet for Francophones and Anglophones. And then on the bottom of this page, you'll find some extra resources. So there's a textbook chapter, the Youth Guide to the Charter, as well as the Government of Canada's Guide to the Charter. The Government of Canada's Guide to the Charter, this one over here, is not in kid-friendly language, whereas the other ones are. And the textbook does have lots of helpful information. And that brings us to freedoms. So a freedom is the ability to act or do something without the government interfering. It is, however, not a law. They can be limited at times by the courts. Some freedoms that are granted to Canadians in the Charter include the freedom of religion, association, peaceful assembly, thoughts, belief, and expression, along with a few others. And if you scan the QR code up in the top left-hand corner, it is a video about the Canadian Charter. So freedom of conscience and religion. In Canada, you can hold any religious belief you want and practice this belief without punishment. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, which includes the media. You're free to express your thoughts, beliefs, and opinion, but the little caveat here, however, there are laws against certain types of hateful speech because they are harmful. So you can say things, but certain things are not acceptable under the law to say. Freedom of peaceful assembly. Canadians may gather with like-minded individuals to peacefully protest, picket, or demonstrate, especially where they disagree with government policies. And freedom of association. Canadians are free to be part of any group or association they like, and you can associate with whomever you choose. And so finally, the freedoms are important to a democratic society, and they ensure that Canadians are free to create and express their ideas, gather to discuss them, and communicate them widely to other people. It allows them to express their opinions and ideas on the government policy and decisions. So it helps hold the government accountable. And so that is a rundown of the Canadian Charter.